We're sitting next to a parking lot that's used by the Chicago Housing Authority for the Senior Citizen Center next door. But 90 years ago, it was home to the SMC Cartage Company. It was also the scene of one of the most brutal mob slayings in Chicago's history. The SMC Cartage Company was used as a warehouse for stolen merchandise by the Bugs Moran gang. But on February 14, 1929, it would mark its place in infamy as the place where murder became massacre. The SMC Cartage Company was on Clark Street, just north of Dickens. The building that you can see at the south end of this lot was there during that time. And it remains to this day. It doesn't look all that different. The Roaring Twenties were just that, roaring. People were earning a good wage. Things were going well in the country. The World War had ended. And with that, Washington, D.C. decided that now would be a good time to end alcohol sales in America. Prohibition was a constitutional ban on the production, importation, transportation, or sale of alcoholic beverages. It lasted from 1920 until 1933. Of course, this paved the way for organized crime to provide to a thirsty public anything that they couldn't buy legally on store shelves. And thus, the Mafia was born. Behind me is a parking lot located at 2122 North Clark Street, Chicago. It's just a parking lot right now. But 90 years ago, on Thursday, February 14th, 1929, it was the scene of one of the most grisly mob murders in Chicago's history, the Saint Valentines Day Massacre. As you walk along here, it's hard to believe that this was the site of a grisly murder. Right along this wall here, 7 people from Bugs Moran's gang was lined up against the wall and shot to death. You can see this building in the original crime photos. The pillars stand out prominently. The violent act from that day set the stage for the demise of both the North and South Side gangs, as the city's appetite for mobs, mayhem, and destruction waned very quickly after a heinous act like that. The Fed stepped in also, figuring if the Chicago police wouldn't do anything about it, they certainly would. The incident resulted from the struggle between the Irish Northsiders and their Italian Southside rivals led by Al Capone to control organized crime in the city during Prohibition. Though the perpetrators have not been conclusively identified, former members of Egan's Rats gang working for Capone are suspected of a significant role, as are members of the Chicago Police Department, who are said to have had personal revenge as their motive for following the killing of a police officer's son. On Saint Valentine's Day, most of the Moran gang had already arrived at the warehouse by approximately 10:30 a.m. Moran was not there, having left his Parkway Hotel apartment late. As Moran and one of his men, Ted Newberry, approached the rear of the warehouse from a side street, they saw a police car approach the building. They immediately turned and retraced their steps, going to a nearby coffee shop. They encountered another gang member, Henry Gusenberg, on the street. Henry was warned and turned back. Willie Marks, also a Northside gang member, spotted the police car on his way to the garage. He ducked into a doorway and jotted down the license number before leaving the neighborhood. This entire chain of events was touched off by the 1924 killing of Dino Banyan right in front of his flower shop across the street from the Holy Name Cathedral on Chicago Avenue and State Street. And to this day, right across the street from Dino Banyan's flower shop, the bullet holes remain in the wall from when his predecessor Jaime Weiss was clipped right on the corner. We're going to take a ride over there now and see if we can spot them, as we're here on the corner of LaSalle and Superior, across from the Holy Name Cathedral. It's where Dino Banyan's flower shop once stood. We go over here to the cathedral itself, right next to the dedication stone, where the bullet holes had been covered up. And if you're ever on a Chicago tour, then they mistakenly tell you that this little black dot here was one of the bullet holes, you know you're on a bum tour, because that was actually a sign that announced the times for services before they put that railing up. The bullet holes are really hard to see, but I'm going to superimpose them on here so that you can see them. They're all around the date area of the dedication stone. Barely make one out there, and one over there, just above and to the left of the teeth. There's 4 altogether. Very difficult to see after all these years. Dean O'Banion's flower shop stood right there across the street. You can still see the YMCA building in the background. So here we are 90 years later. Most of the buildings are gone. The last vestiges of the roaring gangland war that happened from about 1924 to 1929, starting with the assassination of Dean O'Banion right here in front of his flower shop, and culminating with the Saint Valentines Day Massacre on February 14th of 1929. All that remains are a few slugs in the wall and a few ghosts of the past. There's a local historian here who visits sites like these and other sites of tragedy here in the city. And he specializes in a science known as EVP, where they try and capture the voices of the past using radio and video. I don't know how the science works behind EVP, but even if it does work, I wouldn't attempt it. I just want these people to lie and rest, despite their nefarious ways in life. Everyone deserves to rest in peace. I want to thank you for going on this little trip with me. For the Chicago Outfit Files, good night, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.